Yeah. So today we will discuss about the basic Linux commands, guys. So on the Linux architecture. So what we will discuss? So we'll discuss about the Linux architecture, and then we'll discuss the basic Linux. Okay. So we'll discuss the basic Linux commands. Then user for what is that? User prompt also. So we discuss user prompt also. Okay. So Linux architecture. So what is the Linux architecture, guys? Guys, tell me what is Linux architecture? Does anyone knows? So what is the Windows architecture, Ajay?
Not sure, Hari. So please explain.
No, no, no worries, no worries. Just I'm asking if you know or you don't. I will
Mm,
tell you.
mm,
Yeah. So what is this? So for example, what this is? This is a where we are installing the OS. So where we are installing the OS? So we are installing the OS on hardware, right? Hardware will connect to the kernel. What is that, guys? Kernel. So kernel will connect to, yeah, I will show you. Okay, one second. Listen, opening the kernel. Actually, I updated in the, yeah. So what is that, guys? We will write something here. Here is shell. Here is shell. So in the shell. So we are executing the commands. So where we are executing the commands in the. So here PWD to PWD. So something to ls. All the commands will be executed in the shell. Something like a application, so grep code, application start or start code. Okay. cd command, va command, all these commands will be executed under the shell prompt. Okay. So what is that, guys? So this is the architecture. This is the Linux architecture. Guys, understood?
Yes, sir.
Linux architecture is the Linux architecture. What this is? So this is the hardware. So if you are interacting, so just you are interacting with shell only. So you are interacting with shell only. So voice installation is completed, right, guys? Okay. For example, so you are in, this is the Linux server. This Linux server is located in the DC, guys. Where this is located? This is located in the DC data center. So you want to connect this, so you want to connect it in our local, for example, this is in Bangalore. So you are in Hyderabad. So you are using a Windows machine. What is that? So you are using a Windows machine, right? You want to connect this server on your Windows machine. How you can connect? You can connect through putty. What is that, guys? You can connect to through putty only. What it will give? Putty will give the SSH only. What will give? Putty will give SSH. What is SSH? Secure shell. So you will get just a shell prompt. So you are connecting directly. So through the shell prompt. Okay. So you got the shell prompt and you are connecting from here to here and you will operate from here. That's the reason. Guys, understood? Guys,
Yes,
understood?
yes, yes, sorry.
Yeah, very good. So hardware. So this is your Dell PowerEdge hardware server. On top of the hardware, you install the kernel. So kernel is OS. Kernel is not a OS. Kernel is a part of the OS. Kernel will connect with the OS and the hardware. This is the a mediator between the OS and the hardware. I will tell you guys. Okay. So now you understood the Linux architecture. So what is the hardware, kernel, and shell? In the shell, we are executing the commands. So if you want to connect this server on the from Bangalore to Hyderabad, how you are connecting? You just to open the, you are interacting with the shell only. So you are interacting with the shell and you are executing the commands. Right? Now you understood? Very good. Yeah. So the now you understood the Linux file system hierarchy. So Linux, now you understood the Linux hierarchy, right? So now you understood the Linux hierarchy. Okay. So Linux hierarchy, something like what is that? So the initially it's a hardware. In the hardware you are installing the OS and the hardware is a kernel. Kernel. So what is a kernel? What is a kernel, guys? So what is a kernel? For example, kernel is a central component of operating system. What is that, guys? So kernel is the central component of the operating system. It acts as it acts as an interface between the user applications and hardware. You guys understood? So it's act as an interface between the user application and the hardware. The main aim of the main aim of the kernel to manage manage the communication. What is that? So manage the communication between Software. Software means user level. User level applications. User level applications and hardware. So what hardware contains CPU, RAM, disk, and hard disk, right? Hard disk, right? It will communication. So the main aim of the kernel is to manage the communication between software and the hardware. Okay, software and hardware. So so what it will contain, something like it will do the process management, device management, memory management, interrupt handling, IO communication, file system checking. Everything will be taken care by the Linux. Okay, everything will be taken care by the kernel. Understood, guys? So kernel, what is a kernel? Kernel is a central component of the operating system. It's a central component of the operating system. Yeah, central component of the operating system. It acts as an interface between user application and hardware. And the main aim of the kernel to manage the communication between the software and the hardware. Software and the hardware. Guys, understood?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So here, guys, I have a doubt. Is Linux uh, is Linux a kernel or an operating system? Guys, is Linux is a kernel or an operating system?
I think it operating system.
So Linux is a kernel or operating system. Linux is a operating system, not a kernel. Okay. There is a difference. There is a difference between kernel and OS. There is a difference between kernel and OS. Kernel, kernel is the heart of the OS, which means the core feature is that, guys, core features of an OS, core features of an OS, while if some useful applications and utilities, some utilities are added over the kernel. Guys, understood? Then the complete package, the complete package becomes and OS. The complete becomes, there is a difference between kernel and OS. The kernel is nothing but a part of the OS, which means the core features of an OS, while if some useful applications and utilities are added over the kernel. So then the complete package becomes a OS. Then the complete package becomes a OS. So it can easily it can easily be said that operating system consists of a kernel space and a user space. That an operating system consists of kernel space and a user space, right? So an operating system is nothing but a kernel space and a user space. What is a kernel? Kernel is the central component of the operating system. It acts as an interface between the user application and the hardware. So the main aim of the kernel is to manage the communication between software and hardware. Okay, kernel is not a OS. Kernel is a So it's a communication between the software and hardware. So there is a difference between kernel and OS. Kernel is the heart of the OS, which means the core features of the OS. While if some useful application and utilities are added over the kernel, then the complete package becomes an OS. It easily can set the operating system consists of a kernel space and a user space. Guys, understood?
Yes, Hari. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you find out how to find out a kernel version. So how to find out a kernel version? On the shell prompt, the command is dollar uname hyphen uname hyphen r and r uname hyphen a. I will show you guys while executing this command. I will show you, no worries. Guys, now you understood? So what is a kernel? What is the operating system? Guys, understood?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So now what is a shell? Guys, what is a shell? What is a shell? Does anyone knows what is a shell? You already know the shell.
Shell it contains
So
command.
yeah. So how you are interacting with your OS? You are interacting with OS through shell only. Shell is nothing but a shell prompt. It's a CLI. Shell is nothing but a CLI. Shell is nothing but a CLI. What is a shell, guys? What is a shell? For example, I will show you the virtual station. Start. Okay. So what this is? This is a shell. This is a shell. What is that? Root is the username, password is ready. Okay. So echo dollar shell. What this is, guys? This is a shell prompt. This is a so yeah. You see, guys. This is the which shell prompt of bin bash. It's a bin bash shell prompt. I will show you, guys. No worries. I will show you. This is the bin bash a shell prompt. Okay. So shell is a software. What is that, guys? Shell is a software program that allows you to interact, that allows you to interact and access a computer. Interact and access a computer system. Shell is a software program that allows you to interact and access a computer system. Okay, so this is the cell prompt. So you can access a computer system. How you can access the same computer system? You can access the computer system by using shell prompt. Okay, by using shell prompt, you can access the computer system. Okay, user can enter user can enter commands in the shell prompt. User user can enter commands in the shell prompt, which will be executed by the shell. Okay, which will be executed by the shell, which will be executed by the shell is a software program that allows you to interact and access a computer system. User can enter commands in the shell prompt, which will be executed by the shell. So where we are executing the commands, we are executing the commands in the shell prompt. Okay, so ls hyphen LRT. So right, these are the commands. These commands will be executed in the shell prompt only. So user can enter commands in the shell prompt, which will be executed by the shell. Who is executed by that command? The shell will be executed by the command. Okay. Since um, since the only means of communication through shell is text. What is this, guys? Since the only means of communication through shell is a text. So how you are communicating with your shell? So you are communicating with shell is nothing. Shell through text, right? LS is the text, PWD is the text, LS-LRT is the text, root is the text, password is the text, right? So only means of communication through shell is a text, right? It is known as, please tell me, it is known as CLI. What is a CLI? Command line interface. Command line interface. Guys, now you understood what is CLI?
Yes, Hari. Yeah.
Now you understood, right? So wherever you are executing either PowerShell or a Bash shell or a so something like different shells. So wherever you are executing through text, that known as a shell, that known as a CL, it is known as a CLI, command line interface. So right. Now you understood? Now you understood the shell. Before we discussed about the Linux is the CLI operating system and Windows is the GUI operating system. Why Linux is CLI operating system? So we can communicate through OS, Linux OS through shell only. So if you enter the text, so the only means of communication through shell is text. It is known as a CLI. Now you understood? That's the reason CLI. A shell. What is that? A shell is a command interpreter interpreter and serves as a user interface, serves as a user interface to the Linux kernel. Okay, to the Linux kernel. One second. Guys, understood? So a shell is a command interpreter and serves as a user interface to the Linux kernel. A shell is a command interpreter and serves as a user interface to the Linux kernel. Guys, understood? So in Linux, which shell we are using? Which shell we are using? Types of shells. So how many types of shells we have? Linux is using which shell? Okay. Yeah. So dollar shell. Echo dollar shell is nothing but a bin bash. So what is the shell, guys? Bin is nothing but a our normal commands will be available in the bin. So what is the command bash? So Linux uses the which shell prompt, guys?
Bash shell.
Guys, bash shell prompt. Very good. Now you understood types of shells. You know the one shell. What is the shell? So for example, SH shell. Second one is something like a bash shell. What is bash shell? Bash shell is nothing but a born again shell. So by default, Linux uses bash shell to interact for the interaction. Okay, so bash shell. What is the third one, guys? Third one is CSH and TCSH shells. Okay, so fourth one is nothing but a KSH shell. These are other types of shell. But so Linux uses which shell, guys? Bash shell. Nice, understood? So Linux uses the bash shell. Understood, guys?
Yes, Hari. Yes.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Very good. So now you understood the what is a shell, what is a kernel, what is a Linux. Okay, understood, right?
Yes, Hari. Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Now you understood the Linux file system hierarchy and so Linux file system hierarchy and yeah. So types of Linux is types of shells. So what is a shell? What is a kernel? Linux file system hierarchy, kernel, operating system. What is a shell? So types of shells we understood, right? Yeah. So before that, I need to discuss on other one also. Init processes and Linux run levels. So what is that? Init processes and Linux run levels. So yeah, you asked right. Is that Ajay?
Yes, Hari.
So
So
why you are
for
using
restarting
init
and
0,
shutdown.
init 6? Huh?
Yes, for restarting and shutdown, we used
Yeah,
root
yeah,
zero.
yeah, yeah. So the run levels are something like run levels 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how many run levels we have? 6 run levels. So what is the description for the run level? So if you use the so halt or shut down. How you can shut down your machine, guys? By using init
Zero.
0. Init 0, it will be shut down your machine. Understood? Yeah. So what is that? Second one is single user. So single user mode. So second one, third one. So what is the third one? So third one is multi-user with some network services. Okay. Some network services. So what is three? Multi-user with network. Okay. So Linux CLI is Linux CLI is so so which is a multi-user. Okay. So fourth one. So fourth one is unused. So fifth one. So Linux also GUI, guys. What is that? So Linux also GUI. Full multi-user, full multi-user mode with the GUI login. What is that? Full multi-user with GUI login. What is the sixth guy? Sixth one is nothing but reboot the machine. Reboot or restart the machine. So what is the command, guys? The command is init 6. Okay. So this is nothing but a single user mode, right? So if you want to reset root user password, you can log into you can log into single user mode. Guys, understood? So if you want to reset the root user password, you can log into the single user mode and you can reset the password. Understood?
Yes, Hari. So లాగిన్ ప్రాంప్ట్ నీకు మనకు విజిబుల్ అయినప్పుడు ఇనిట్ 1 ఇచ్చి
Hmm.
పాస్వర్డ్ రిసెట్ చేయాలా?
కాదు కాదు. సో అది ఎట్లా అంటే నేను చెప్తాను. సో ఇప్పుడు మన కెర్నల్ ఉంటది కదా. స్టార్ట్
హ్మ్.
చేయగానే కెర్నల్ చూపిస్తుంది కదా.
హ్మ్.
అది
అంటే
చూపిస్తాను. అది
బూట్
చూపించగానే
అయ్యిద్ది.
కెర్నల్ ని స్టాప్ చేసి కెర్నల్ నుంచి గ్రబ్ లోకి వెళ్ళి అప్పుడు సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ లోకి వెళ్ళాలి.
ఓకే. అంటే ఇప్పుడు విండోస్‌లో మనం F2, F3 అట్లాగా
ఆ!
బూట్
ఆ!
ఆప్షన్స్
ఆ! ఆ!
ఓకే.
ఆ!
ఓకే.
లైక్ దట్, లైక్ దట్, లైక్ దట్.
హుహు.
ఓకే.
ఓకే. ఓకే.
Yeah. So once the kernel and drivers are loaded, Linux starts loading the rest of the file system, right? Once the kernel and the drivers are loaded, Linux starts loading the rest of the system. This starts with the first process. This starts with the first process, right? So first process. So first process that is known as init. What is the first process? The first process is init, and it has the process ID. So init having process ID. So the ID of process ID of one. What is the first process, guys? The first process is init. Init kernel itself has the process ID of 0, which cannot displayed by using the ps command. Okay. What is the first process, guys? The first process is init. So the init process takes control the boot operation. Init process, it runs the slash etc rc.d rc init. So something like the first starts the system D. What is that, guys? It starts the system D. System D will start everything. Okay. Yes, understood?
Yes, sir. Yep. Yes, please continue.
Yeah, very good. So now you understood the run levels and everything. Okay.
ఇప్పుడు మనం ఇనిట్ 0, ఇనిట్ 6 కాకుండా మనం ఇదే ఇనిట్ 1,
Shut
2,
down or
3,
reboot
4,
కూడా
5
ఇవ్వచ్చు.
అదే నార్మల్ ఇప్పుడు
But
మనం లాగిన్ అయిన
CentOS 7 onwards, we are using init 0 from init run levels init 0, init 1, init 2, init 3, init 2. Okay.
ఒకసారి చూపిస్తారా? ఒకసారి ఇనిట్ 1 ఎట్లా యూజ్ చేస్తారు? ఇనిట్
What this is?
దిస్ ఈజ్ షెల్.
స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేయట్లేదా? కనిపిస్తుందా స్క్రీన్?
కనిపిస్తుంది.
init స్పేస్ 0. init స్పేస్ 0 అనేది ఏంటిది?
షట్ డౌన్.
షట్
షట్
డౌన్.
డౌన్.
ఓకే. ఏమైపోయింది? షట్ డౌన్ అయిపోయింది. అవునా?
ఓకే.
మళ్ళీ స్టార్ట్ చేయాలంటే ఏం చేస్తారు? ఇక్కడికి వెళ్ళి స్టార్ట్ చేస్తారు. అవునా? అదే ఫిజికల్ అయితే అక్కడికి వెళ్ళి పవర్ పవర్ బటన్
అదే.
నొక్కుతారు. ఇక్కడ స్టార్ట్ చేయగానే ఏమవుతుంది?
ఓఎస్ బూట్ అవుద్ది అంటే మళ్ళీ ఓకే.
ఇది
ఈ ప్రాంప్ట్
కెర్నల్.
వచ్చింది.
ఇక్కడ కనిపించింది కదా. సో ఇది నేను ఏం చేశానంటే యూజ్ ద అప్ అండ్ ఆర్ కీస్ టు చేంజ్ ద సెక్షన్. ప్రెస్ ఈ టు ఎడిట్ ద సెలెక్టెడ్ ఐటమ్ ఆర్సి ఫర్ ఏ కమాండ్ ప్రాంప్ట్.
ఓకే.
ఓకే. నేను ఏం చేశాను? స్టాప్ చేశాను. దిస్ ఈస్ ద కెర్నల్. వాట్ దిస్ ఈస్? సో
కెర్నల్.
CentOS Linux 3.10.0 1160 E7 EL7 837 Core 7. This is the Linux, guys. This is the kernel. One second. I'm getting call. Getting out. Yeah. If you press the escape, right? So escape, it will start. Or press enter, it will start the processing. Okay. Okay. Again, it will ask. One second. This guy is asking. Yeah. So how you can log in? You can log into the root. The password is ready. Right. You guys understood? సో
ఎస్.
ఇంకోటి ఏంటిది? ఇనిట్ 6. అవునా? సో ఇనిట్ 6 అంటే ఏంటి?
రీస్టార్ట్.
రీస్టార్ట్. గైస్, సో సిఎల్ఐ మోడ్ అంటే ఇప్పుడు మనం వాడేది సిఎల్ఐ మోడ్ కదా. సో సిఎల్ఐ మోడ్ ఎక్కడ మనం ఏ మోడ్ లో ఉన్నాం? సిఎల్ఐ మోడ్ అనేది ఏంటిది? ఇనిట్ 0, ఇనిట్ 1, ఇనిట్ 2, ఇనిట్ 3, ఇనిట్ 4 ఏంటిది? ఇనిట్ 3. ఇనిట్ 3 is a multi user with CLI. ఓకే,
ఓకే.
అండర్స్టూడ్.
ఓకే. అంటే నా డౌట్ ఏందంటే ఇప్పుడు మనం ఇనిట్ 0, ఇనిట్ 0, ఇనిట్ 6 కమాండ్ ఇస్తున్నాం కదా! అట్లాగా మనం ఇనిట్ 1 కమాండ్ ఇచ్చి సింగిల్
అట్లా
యూజర్
నువ్వు
మోడ్.
అదే అడుగుతున్నావా? సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ కి
హ్మ్.
ఎలా వెళ్ళాలంటున్నావా? సో యూనిట్
హ్మ్.
1 ఇస్తే సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ కి వెళ్ళదు. సో సింగిల్
హ్మ్.
యూజర్ మోడ్ అనేది ఎలా వెళ్ళాలి అంటే, ఓకే ఓకే, నీ డౌట్ ఐ అండర్స్టూడ్ డౌట్.
సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్‌కెళ్ళాలి అంటే ఓన్లీ సింగిల్ యూజర్ సెషన్ కనెక్ట్ అయ్యిద్దా? సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ అంటే?
సింగిల్ యూజర్ సెషన్ కనెక్ట్ అవుతుంది, అది ఎవరు యాక్సెస్ చేయలేరు అనమాట, ఏం చేయలేం మనం దాంట్లో.
ఓకే.
సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ ఏమో వెళ్ళినప్పుడు మనం ఏమీ చేయలేం. సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ డైరెక్ట్ గా మనం, ఇప్పుడు ఇది రూట్ లాగిన్ రెడ్ హ్యాట్ అని కొట్టంగానే ఎక్కడికి వెళ్తున్నాం?
అదే బై డిఫాల్ట్ మల్టీ యూజర్ సెషన్‌కెళ్ళిద్దేమో అంటే.
మల్టీ యూజర్ సెషన్ కి వెళ్ళింది. ఓకే, సో మల్టీ యూజర్ సెషన్ కి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు, సో మనకి మల్టీ యూజర్ సెషన్ ఉంది. సో మల్టీ యూజర్ సెషన్ లో నేను సింగిల్ యూజర్ కి వెళ్తా అంటే యూనిట్ 1 కొట్టంలోనే సింగిల్ యూజర్ కి వెళ్ళిద్దని నీ డౌట్ అంతేనా?
హ్మ్.
సో గివ్ యూ రూట్ పాస్వర్డ్ టు ద మెయింటెనెన్స్. మళ్ళీ ఎక్కడికి వచ్చింది? మళ్ళీ థర్డ్ లోకే వచ్చింది. ఓకే, సో రీ సో రిపీట్ ఆల్సో విల్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ ద కమాండ్. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు చూడు. సో ఇప్పుడు నాకు సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ లోకి వెళ్ళాలి. హౌ యూ కెన్ గో టు
హ్మ్.
ది సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్? నేను కెర్నల్ ని స్టాప్ చేశాను. ఓకే,
హ్మ్. హ్మ్.
సో కింద చూడు, ప్రెస్ సి టు ఎడిట్ ద సెలెక్టెడ్ ఐటమ్ ఆర్ సి ఫర్ ద కమాండ్ ప్రాంప్ట్. సో నేను ఏం
హ్మ్.
చేస్తాను, ఎడిట్ చేద్దాం అనుకుంటున్నాను. ఓకే,
హ్మ్.
ఎడిట్ చేసిన తర్వాత లైన్ నెంబర్ 16 అని ఒకటి ఉంటుంది. ఈ లైన్ నెంబర్ 16 అని ఇక్కడికి వచ్చాక ఇక్కడ ఎండ్ బటన్ నొక్కితే ఎండ్కి వచ్చేసి. ఓకే,
ఓకే.
ఆర్డి డాట్ బ్రేక్, ఆర్డి డాట్ బ్రేక్ అని క్లిక్ చేస్తే ఐ థింక్ ఆర్డి డాట్ బ్రేక్ ఈక్వల్ టు 1, దెన్ కంట్రోల్ ఎక్స్.
కంట్రోల్ ఎక్స్ అంటే సేవా?
కంట్రోల్ ఎక్స్ అంటే సేవ్. నా ఇప్పుడు చూసావా, స్విచ్ రూట్ యువర్ ఇన్ ద సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్.
ఓకే.
అండర్స్టూడ్?
హ్మ్. హ్మ్. సో మధ్యలో ఆర్‌డి డాట్ బ్రేక్ అని ఎందుకు ఇచ్చాం? అంటే ఆ కమాండ్
అంటే
వల్ల
సింగిల్ యూజర్
ఏమవుతుంది?
మోడ్ లోకి వెళ్ళాలి అంటే అక్కడ కెర్నల్ లోకి వెళ్ళి అక్కడ ఆర్టీ డాట్ బ్రేక్ అని ఇస్తేనే సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ లోకి వెళ్తాం.
ఓకే. ఓకే.
ఓకే,
ఓకే. అదే మనకి ఏ లైన్‌లో ఎడిట్ చేయాలో మనకి ఐడియా ఉండాలంటే.
లైన్
మీకంటే
నెంబర్
ఐడియా
16,
ఉంది. హ్మ్. హ్మ్.
ఆ లైన్
హ్మ్.
నెంబర్ 16 లోకి వెళ్ళి యాడ్ చేయాలి.
ఓకే. ఓకే.
నేను చెప్తానులే నీకు ఒక రోజు క్లాస్ తీసుకొని.
హ్మ్.
సో నువ్వు ఒకటి పని చేయి నువ్వు. నీకు ఇప్పుడు కొంచెం అర్థమైంది కదా కాన్సెప్ట్.
హ్మ్. హ్మ్. హ్మ్.
కొంచెం
హ్మ్.
కమాండ్స్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేసేటప్పుడు చెప్తాను. ఉమ్?
ఓకే. ఓకే. హ్మ్.
One second, someone is asking something. Where is that guys? RTCU is called to project systems. Hello? Yeah, guys. సో ఇప్పుడు సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ లోకి వెళ్ళాం కదా. సో యూ కెన్ ఎగ్జిట్ ఫ్రమ్ సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ టు సిస్టమ్.
ఇప్పుడు ప్రతిసారి ఓఎస్ బూట్ అయ్యేటప్పుడు మనకి ఈ రెండు ఆప్షన్లు చూపిస్తుందా ప్రతిసారి?
వస్తాయి వస్తాయి.
ఓకే. అంటే ఏదైనా, అంటే అజూర్ లో అయినా ఎక్కడైనా, అంటే మనం నార్మల్ ఓవిఎం
అజూర్
లో
లో
కాకుండా, అంటే ఓవిఎం లో బూట్
ఇది
చేస్తున్నాం కాబట్టి,
లైనెక్స్ అనేది ఎక్కడైనా యూజ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు.
అంటే నార్మల్ గా విండోస్ మనము
ఉమ్,
పవర్ ఆన్ చేసినామంటే ఏమీ రావు, అంటే జస్ట్ మనం బూట్ ఆప్షన్స్ ఇస్తేనే F2
అంతే
అట్లాగే
అంతే
ఏదో.
అంతే అవును, అవును, అవును. కానీ ఇక్కడ కెర్నల్ అనేది మనకు చూపిస్తుంది. సో
మ్మ్.
సో వాట్ ఈస్ దట్ ఎగ్జిట్. ఇప్పుడు స్టార్ట్ అయిపోయింది. ఓకే. సో యు ఆర్ గోయింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ సింగిల్ యూజర్ మోడ్ టు రూట్ టు రెడ్ హ్యాట్ రన్ లెవెల్. ఇప్పుడు ఏ రన్ లెవెల్లో ఉన్నావు? రన్ లెవెల్ 3 లో ఉన్నాను. ఓకే. సో హౌ యూ కెన్ చెక్ ద విచ్ రన్ లెవెల్ యు ఆర్.
రన్ లెవెల్, కమాండ్ రన్ లెవెల్.
కమాండ్ రన్ లెవెల్ ఆర్ systemctl get default. So multi-user. So which level? So you are in the multi-user mode. As understood? Either run level or you can use the systemctl get default to check the run level. Right?
ఎస్ సరే.
Understood? Okay. User prompt. What is this? User prompt. So what is the user prompt? So this is the user prompt. Root at the rate localhost 12. So right. So this is the user prompt. So when we logged into the user, logged in as a root and the password is equal to something. So you just logged into the user prompt. This is a user prompt. So which user prompt is this? This is the root user prompt. Okay. Yeah. So what is that? Root at the rate localhost filter. So 12 to hash. You guys understood? So what is that? One is root. What is the root? Root is the login name. What is that, guys? Root is a login name. Second one is mission name or host name or server name. Okay. So second one is the mission name, host name or a server name. Understood? Understood? Local
ఎస్ సరే.
local host. So this is nothing but a so mission name, server name, DNS name అయి ఉండొచ్చు, ఏదైనా అయి ఉండొచ్చు. ఓకేనా? Third one. What is the third one? Third one is nothing but a twilt. What is this? Twilt shows the present working directory. Okay? Twilt shows the present working directory. Fourth one. Guys, 1 second. I want to send a location. Sure. Okay, leave. This one is second. Okay. Okay. Yeah. What is user prompt? Till is nothing but it shows the present working directory. Okay. What is that? PWD. So it will. So PWD is nothing but where you are. Guys, where you are? You are under the slash root. So it will shows the present working directory. Okay. And what is it? Hash. Hash is nothing but a user profile. User profile. Hash. Hash pluralized mode. Root user can execute any command. So if you have a hash, right? So you can execute any command. You can execute any command. Guys, understood? So this is nothing but a, for example, a root user login prompt. So for example, normal user login prompt, Hari at the rate localhost quilt. Okay. So dollar. So dollar is nothing but a dollar profile. User can execute only slash bin commands. Understood, guys? So so root can do anything, but the user can execute some extent level of permissions only, right? Guys, understood?
Yes,
Ajay,
sir. Yes.
yeah. So what we discussed today, we discussed a most important topic, guys. So if you know this, it will be very easy to understand the Linux also, right? Or you can
Yes, sir.
reboot your mission. What is a kernel? So from tomorrow onwards, we will talk about the basic Linux commands. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yep. Thank you, guys. So
Thank you.
you guys are watching the recordings, right? You
నాకు
got
దానికి
the access.
యాక్సెస్ లేదు. నాకు యాక్సెస్ అంటే
సో
ఏమైనా
నీ మెయిల్ ఐడి
వస్తుందంటే
పెట్టు.
ఆ! సరే
ఉమ్,
వేరేది పెడతాను. దానికి ఇవ్వండి యాక్సెస్. నిన్న ట్రై చేశాను. దిస్ వీడియో ఇస్ ప్రైవేట్ అని వస్తుంది.
అదే నీకు ఒకసారి నువ్వు సో యూ గైస్ కెన్ రీచ్ అవుట్ టు దిస్ నెంబర్ 9168 721 797. They will give you the access. Okay, so వాళ్ళు నీకు యాక్సెస్ ఇస్తారు. You can contact with that. Okay, thank you
ఓకే.
guys.
ఓకే.
We'll
థాంక్
continue from tomorrow.